So amid criticisms that the MCU has gotten stale over the years and that people don't really like the house style that they started to kind of bring into the MCU around Phase 2 onwards, Marvel have definitely made efforts to kind of address that and improve, and I do appreciate that. But one thing I really appreciate is that the DCU is hitting the ground running with stylization from project to project. Each project feels very different to the last, particularly in the marketing. Superman is like if Silver Age comic book were a film genre, Peacemaker more of a black comedy kind of sci-fi thing as well, Supergirl looking to be a gritty space quest, Lantern's kind of a true detective crime drama meets sci-fi, and now we've also got the Clayface movie on the way. Now, this is not the first time we've had a movie titled after a comic book villain, far from it. Sony showed us just how stupid those films could be. Warner Brothers showed us how polarizing they can be with the Joker movies. But for the first time, we have one taking place within the main universe continuity. This is not a corporate side hustle like the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, aka the Spunk, produced by a complete moron like Avi Arad. This is part of James Gunn and Peter Safran's central DC universe, and it's probably our first look at what kind of the Batman part of the DC universe is going to look like. Now, we have seen Clayface before in Creature Commandos, which is considered canon, but we don't really know what parts of Creature Commandos are necessarily going to be canon to that central DCU, as Clayface's depiction here looks a bit different to how Clayface was depicted in Creature Commandos. But I think that this is just Clayface at different stages of his metamorphosis, as the Clayface seen in Creature Commandos is Matt Hagen, and the Clayface scene in the upcoming Clayface movie is also Matt Hagen, as opposed to Basil Karlo. So I think while our first tease of the upcoming Clayface movie showcases more just a man with clay for a face, Matt Hagen was the first Clayface to develop shape-shifting abilities, so I think we will see him become that iconic, big hulking monster Clayface that we all know and love. But to be honest, I won't be too mad if we don't go down that route. I did enjoy how Clayface was portrayed in the Batman Caped Crusader TV series on Amazon Prime. However, Mike Flanagan, the writer of the film, has stated that this film will take inspiration from Batman the Animated Series, particularly the story Feet of Clay. I think this is the first time I've heard Batman the Animated Series cited as a point of reference for a big high-profile live-action project, and I am thrilled to hear it because to many of us, Batman the Animated Series gave us the quintessential versions of these characters and quintessential stories to go along with it. The version of Matt Hagen in Batman the Animated Series is more kind of a mix between Matt Hagen and Basil Karlo. So in Batman the Animated Series, they kind of adapted the actor origin story of Basil Karlo, but paired it with Matt Hagen instead. And in that story, a younger Matt Hagen was involved in a car accident, which jeopardized his acting career because it led to his face being disfigured. He became addicted to an experimental cosmetic surgery cream, and when he tried to steal the stuff, he was involved in a skirmish which led to him getting covered in it. And that is what turned him into Clayface, and I can fully appreciate why this is the version of the origin story that they are going with. I do wonder if they will be tackling the addiction side of the story, as it looks like he may be getting this Clayface procedure done maybe against his will, or because he has been involved in a severe accident that has severely disfigured him. I just don't know if we're going to do the addiction storyline. However, because this is R-rated, I think it would be a good idea. I mean, Batman the Animated Series managed to pull it off, and that show was for kids. That show was for kids. I mean, just look at it. It's awesome. They really went above and beyond with Batman the Animated Series. So glad to see it being used as a reference of inspiration. So the CinemaCon teaser trailer for Clayface has been released to the public now, giving us not only our first glimpses at Matt Hagen aka Clayface, but also giving us our very first glimpses at the DCU's version of Gotham City. Clayface himself looks incredibly gnarly. They're going all in with the body horror. There's some really unsettling shots. One where his face seems to be behind a protective mask, probably when his procedure is healing and it's very fresh. We also see his face getting sliced into by the surgeon, which is, again, really gnarly. This is a really promising teaser as it serves as kind of a condensed version of Clayface's origin story. The central pillar of it being Matt Hagen in his hospital bed covered in bandages, and you can see just how bloodied and red his face is. He must have gone under a brutal attack. if they are staying faithful to the Batman the Animated Series version of the origin story. Reminds me a little of in season 3 of Gotham when Jerome was first resurrected and he'd lost his face entirely, and he was all wrapped in bandages and he looked super ghoulish. There's a lot of blink and you'll miss it shots in there as well, one where Matt Hagen's face almost appears to be kind of melting, and it's terrifying. I'm gonna leave it up on screen for you to really soak it in. It's nasty, isn't it? Ugh, brother, ugh. But we also see his life as a successful actor as well. And I think Rhys Harries was a great casting choice. He's kind of that young, kind of very conventionally attractive actor, so it is going to feed into the tragedy of Clayface's story. Man could have gone places had he not been turned into clay. And it all leads to a horrifying final shot of Matt Hagen laying down in the bathtub when he rubs his facial features off, revealing just a flat clay putty-like surface beneath. It's genuinely really unsettling to watch, and I love how far they're going with the body horror of this story. We also get a little tease of Clayface's shape-shifting abilities as well when we see his shadow against a wall, forming that spiked ball on his hand. And as for the DCU's interpretation of Gotham City, I won't lie, my imagination hasn't exactly been lit on fire here. It is, once again, looking like a realistic kind of city. And I kind of wish we could see more of the gothic elements of Gotham City brought in more often. There are some shots here where the lighting is very akin to Matt Reeves' The Batman, and then there are other shots that remind me a little bit of the 2019 Joker movie. But when we do get larger shots of Gotham City, it doesn't really look as good as, say, the one from The Batman. Personally, I've got a soft spot for Schumacher's Gotham with the gigantic Greek statues everywhere. It looked otherworldly, but it looked fantastic. But I mean, hey, the film is heavily inspired by Feet of Clay from Batman the Animated Series, so it would have been cool if maybe Gotham could have been inspired by Batman the Animated Series. Heck, I think the TV series Gotham actually did quite a nice job with Gotham's kind of overall look as well. There is a shot where you can see this kind of green clown poster, possibly hinting at the Joker making his appearance in the DCU, but I don't think it's going to be this soon. The movie just looks super cool though, I won't lie, even if I do have some gripes about Gotham looking just a little bit too normal. Other than that, I love how far we're going with the body horror elements. This looks like a really cool origin story for Clayface. So I'm super glad we got to see that CinemaCon footage in the end. This looks really gnarly. But also I just love the atmosphere of this overall as well. I'd love it if the Batman movies could have a similar atmosphere to this. The film has been described as being very David Cronenberg-esque as well. So again, we're really leaning into stylization, and we've got that first teaser poster, and this does look like a bona fide horror movie, perfect for Halloween. Like, even if you didn't care about Clayface as a Batman villain, you could still probably enjoy this as just a horror movie. And I gotta say, the more I think about it, the more I really love the very stylized, self-contained nature of these DCU projects so far. And I look forward to seeing how these culminate. This is also an R-rated project as well. They're not neutering it for the general mass market the way Sony did with their villain spin-off movies. But look how creepy he is. His whole face is melting, like stretchy pizza cheese. It looks so cool. It honestly reminds me of the Gotham version of Clayface that we saw in the finale of Season 2. He was creepy, if a little underutilized. And if they don't do the big hulking monster Clayface, I honestly won't mind too much, as I actually really like this particular depiction. It's by no means a betrayal of the source material, because again, Basil Karlo was more that low-key version of the character, where he was still very humanoid and still a regular size. And I do appreciate that we've been seeing that depiction get a little bit more love in adaptations in the recent years. I guess this is quite a cool way to introduce the Batman side to the DC universe, showcasing a Batman villain and their tragic origin story before we are introduced to Batman himself. We establish a potential threat and we move forward from there. That's really not a bad way to go. And I've been quite enjoying this unique approach to kind of origin stories within the DCU as well. For example, how we didn't see the destruction of Krypton in Superman, but we'll be seeing it from Supergirl's perspective in the upcoming Supergirl movie. So we are introduced to Gotham City through Matt Hagen's perspective rather than Batman's. Not only is it unique, but it also gives it a chance to be more impactful when we're not seeing it from the perspective of someone who is at the very top of the food chain. Very cool. I like that a lot. And I think going for the David Cronenberg style direction, really unique choice, and it's going to make it a very striking movie. I like that these are movies first and foremost, and pillars in a cinematic universe second. I think that is what happens when you have a true blue filmmaker like James Gunn at the very top as the lead producer for your cinematic universe. This is what a cinematic universe should be. But I hope the film turns out good. I'm sure it will. Everything is pointing in the right direction here. What do you guys think? Do you like this unique angle? Do you like the look of the Clayface movie? Comment below. And as always, time for me to shout out my very generous $5 and above tier patrons. We have KB, Twilord, Biotin, Cyrus the Skeptic, and Mr. SP. Kale Bennett, didn't expect to change names so soon. Dare Denny, Sad Goku, Ghostly Phantom, Xander Wolf, Channel Pup, aka just another evil robot clone claiming discarded naming rights, Vera Wild, SSS06, Carlex, RT0, Marv Animation, Grant Allen, Josh Strider, Silver, Ben Raven, Basic Content, Gideon Wells, Pressplater Jason, Joseph Tribble, Cho Henshin, and that's the lot. Thank you folks so much for being so generous, and to everybody else, check out another video on my channel. I got loads of them. Go see.